In this video, we are going to cover where to live in Seattle. My name is Christian Harris. I am the team leader of the C-Town real estate team here in Seattle. I work, live, and play right here in the city and have for many years. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by telling you how to subscribe to YouTube. You're on here, you know how this thing works. If you have any questions, I'm going to put the information to how to get a hold of me down in the description and any details from the video you may be interested in. So let's get into this. Before we can really start narrowing down where to live in Seattle, you really have to ask yourself, what type of lifestyle do you want? What kind of vibe, what kind of feel do you want? So let's kind of dive into a few questions that may be helpful before we start talking about specific areas of Seattle. The biggest thing that I found in my profession is commute. If someone is working outside their house, the distance and time they're going to spend on the road is the biggest factor. So obviously you need to consider how long it's going to take you to drive in and out from your workplace if you aren't working from home. Obviously, if you are working from home, when you're looking to buy a house or rent, you're going to want more than likely a dedicated office space or spare bedroom that you can turn into an office space. Walkability, is that a big thing for you? Do you want to be able to walk to your favorite restaurant, bar, grocery store, or do you want more of a quiet neighborhood where it's peaceful and green? You don't have to worry about a lot of traffic or people being around. How much hustle and bustle do you want? How much noise, specifically nighttime noise? If you live on a bus line, that's great for transportation, but not so great for people gathering around in that area. Also, if there's a lot of restaurants, you're gonna have to worry about more nighttime noise and parking situations on your street and stuff. You know, a lot of times in Seattle, there's not great parking. Very few people have garages or driveways, and so there's a lot of street parking. So if there's a lot of restaurants, then people are gonna be parking on your street. And then you look at things like a view. Do you want a view? There's tons of great views all around Seattle, from westward sunset views to over the Olympic Mountains, or eastern sunrise views and the Cascades, Mount Rainier, rivers, lakes, ocean views, all that kind of stuff. So is that important to you? If it is, it'll probably cost you a little bit more, or could cost you a lot more, depending on how amazing that view is. Is public transportation something? Do you want to be on a main bus line or close to the light rail? Also, how much green space do you want? Are you okay having a smaller yard and being close to your neighbor, or do you need more space and you want a larger plot of land so you can have your own space to sprawl out? Or maybe you're okay having a smaller yard as long as you're close to parks or green area that you can do walks in. So there's so many different Seattle neighborhoods to choose from, and each one offers something a little different. So it's a good idea to make a list of your top 3 most important needs when it comes to the location of your next home. And because there's so many different neighborhoods in Seattle, if I cover them all in detail, it'd take 5 hours, and you don't want to watch a 5-hour video, and I don't want to make one. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the top 5 kind of main geographic areas in Seattle, technically 4 areas in Seattle, and then we're going to look at the east side just for comparison's sake. So it's 5 areas total. And then if you make sure to subscribe, the next series of videos, we're going to deep dive into those different neighborhoods. So while driving around or walking around the different Seattle neighborhoods, you'll notice that there's a wide variety of styles and ages of homes, ranging from the 1880s Victorians to the 1920s bungalows and Tudors, to 1930s and 40s classic craftsman or mid-century homes, or also obviously the brand new boxy modern homes, single-family homes or townhomes. Though some neighborhoods will have more of a cluster of similar types of homes, like mid-century homes or craftsmen's, due to the era that those neighborhoods were established, except for really the east side, which is much newer and has much more of a suburban feel to it, where they developed subdivisions all at the same time in the 70s and 80s and on. Similar floor plans, similar neighborhood, more of a planned neighborhood feel. That tends to be on the east side. You don't really see that in Seattle because the areas and neighborhoods are so much older. It's much more eclectic and a lot more character in those neighborhoods and the types of houses that you tend to see in Seattle versus the east side. So we're going to start with West Seattle here. It's the jut of land just to the southwest of downtown Seattle. From here you have amazing views of the downtown skyline. You also have amazing views of obviously the Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains more to the west, and so you get these amazing sunsets behind the Olympic Mountains. It's quite amazing. West Seattle has a lot of history here because it's actually originally where the Denny Party landed in the 1800s. So they went across Elliott Bay and established Seattle, where the downtown and Pioneer Square section of Seattle is. So West Seattle is primarily residential housing, and then there's kind of a main corridor of shopping here on California Avenue. It's broken up into 3 shopping districts. They call them junctions. So in the north you have the Admiral Junction, And then in the middle, you have the Alaska Junction. And then on the south side here, you've got the Morgan Junction. And they call it that because there used to be a trolley back in, I think, like the teens or 20s, 1920s, that ran along that. And those were the 3 stops along California Avenue. And so it's maintained, that shopping district. So a lot of the newer buildings along there are mixed use, with the downstairs, the bottom floor being office space or shops or restaurants, and the upstairs being residential townhouses. One of the amazing things and great things about West Seattle is that it's a little more sleepy. It definitely has a small town feel compared to some areas of Seattle, but it also feels separated, but it's only really 10 minutes from a 10-minute drive from downtown when the West Seattle Bridge is up. Also, for commuters, there's actually a foot ferry that leaves Issaquah here and goes across to downtown. It only takes 10 minutes to get there, and there's actually a bus shuttle that goes around West Seattle, picks up, drops off people that want to use that West Seattle ferry. So we'll kind of start on the north side here and work our way south down West Seattle. So obviously you have Issaquah, which has a very covered, kind of a beachy feel to it. Summer times, Issaquah Beach has a very New England feel to it. In the winter times, because it's windy and rainy, but in the summer times, absolutely amazing and gorgeous. You've got the sandy beaches, has a Venice Beach feel. You got the sun, the beach, people out there paddleboarding, sand volleyball. You can rent bikes. There's delicious food, coffee, pizza, burgers, beer, ice cream, all the fun summer stuff that you'd want while you're walking down the beach. And there's 4 miles of a wide sidewalk and a parallel bike path that's great for walking or biking, skating. Very popular during the summer times. If you start at the beginning, the views of downtown Seattle, then as you wrap around the point, you got the views of the Cascades that ends in a lighthouse on the west side of Issaquah. It's really beautiful. So Issaquah Beach and Golden Gardens, which is a beach in North Seattle, are really the only 2 sandy beaches on the Puget Sound in Seattle. All the other beaches are covered in rocks and logs and seaweed and kelp and are a little gross. They're not great for putting out a towel and wading into the water. There are some other options of sandy beaches on Lake Washington. They're the waterfront as well. That's fresh water, and that's on the east side of the city. So dropping down from Issaquah, you've got the Admiral District, which is the north end of West Seattle here. So the Admiral District tends to be the most desirable and hence the most expensive area of West Seattle. And things get more affordable as you go south. Not terribly more affordable, definitely cheaper than Admiral District. As you go down, you've got kind of some different neighborhoods and whatnot. You've actually got the highest point in Seattle is Fairmont Point here, which has a great view of downtown Seattle. So I think the elevation is like 550 feet above sea level, which is funny. That's the highest point in Seattle. And then as you go south, you get into Fauntleroy area, and then White Center, which technically is unincorporated King County. The technical White Center line or the West Seattle line goes around the Arbor Heights here. But White Center is really up and coming. It has a really vibrant food scene. It's got a skating rink and bowling alley and really some fun family activities nowadays. It's definitely up and coming. Kind of has that old Seattle vibe that some of us longtime Seattle residents kind of miss. An old school charm. It's a grunge feel. It's nestled in between West Seattle to the north and Burien to the south. It's unincorporated part of Seattle. Easy access to bus lines. It's close to the airport, which is great. And the real estate is still fairly affordable here compared to the rest of West Seattle or the rest of Seattle proper. So West Seattle overall, it's really one of Seattle's best kept secrets in my opinion. Neighborhoods feel very friendly, small town feel, a great walkability, yet only 10 minutes from downtown. Easy access to I-5 and I-90, which leads you to the east side or the Cascade Mountains further to the east for just some outdoor fun, hiking, skiing, snowboarding. So next we're going to move up to North Seattle. And so what we're calling North Seattle is everything north of the Cut is what they call this. So this is the Ship Canal. This is the Ballard Locks in here, Lake Union, where you got a lot of the houseboats, and water planes land here, and then the rest of the canal that goes into larger Lake Washington here. So with North Seattle, we'll start with kind of the Fremont area here and work our way up. So Fremont is, along with Wallingford, just to the east of it, is definitely one of the quirkier, artsy neighborhoods of Seattle. It's famous for its Fremont troll statue underneath the Fremont Bridge and the Lenin statue, which I have no idea why that's there, but there's a statue of Lenin. In Fremont, you find more apartment complexes and condos there. It also hosts a popular year-round farmers market, as does West Seattle, which we just covered. Then you get into Wallingford, going to the left there, and you have a lot of mixed demographics with a fair amount of quirky houses and yards. And then you got Ballard, which is hipster central. It used to be known as being an old Nordic sleepy town, lots of fishing and stuff, but in the last 20 years, it's really become popular and exploded. Tons of great food and breweries. I think there's 15 breweries in Ballard, lots of coffee shops. If you want to hang out, nightlife, shops, that kind of stuff, Ballard's great for that kind of thing. The only tricky thing, it's a little challenging to get in and out of Ballard if you have to get to I-5 because you've got to wind your way through a bunch of residential areas. So far we've covered, Fremont here, working our way towards Wallingford in this area, and then Ballard up here. This is where that Golden Gardens is that I mentioned. It has a nice sandy beach here. There's a nice rock climbing gym, right in here. Pretty easy access to kind of the backside of Seattle with Magnolia over here and Queen Anne here going into downtown, but we can talk about that in a little bit. So you've also got the U District over here, which is obviously the University of Washington. So lots of apartments and dorms, mixed-use buildings. There's also a larger shopping area there that has Seattle's only Apple Store. The other two Apple stores, there's one in South Center, which is to the south, kind of by SeaTac Airport, and then in Bellevue across Lake Washington, which we'll cover at the end. Moving north from the U District, you've got Ravenna, which is really a beautiful area. A lot of historic, older homes there. Beautiful to walk through if you get a chance. And then just to the east of that, you have Green Lake, which also includes Greenwood area, and over to Crown Hill. In the Green Lake area, it's mostly residential homes with some clusters of shops and restaurants and bars. It's very active during the day, because of the lake and all the activities and the running trails and whatnot. And then we can move up to the Northgate area, which is the tip top of Seattle until you get into Shoreline. So Northgate's known for its large shopping area and home of the first mall in the U.S., which was built in 1950. The Northgate Mall is where the area gets its name, Northgate. So North Seattle overall has lots of green space and park access. Like we've talked about, you've got the walking trail, about 4 miles plus of walking, running trails around Green Lake. You've got Golden Gardens, which is great outdoor area, beach and park. You've got Carkeek Park and Magnuson Park. Then you have the Woodland Park Zoo and Rose Garden, which is beautiful. Lots of great animals, and in the summer times they actually have outdoor concerts. Next, we'll move down into the downtown and central area. So that's going to cover the actual downtown area with all the skyscrapers, and then the central district and Capitol Hill area here. So all of this area right in the middle. So everything is busy and happening in downtown. Green space is limited, but you'll find amazing views of the mountains and the sound. There is some parks in this area. So you have Volunteer Park, you have the Arboretum, which is beautiful to walk through. You got Discovery Park and Magnolia, which is huge and has miles and miles of wooded trails. Sculpture Park, and then you have Cal Anderson Park on Capitol Hill, which is actually named after the state's first openly gay state legislator, and more recently has garnered some attention as a center of CHAZ, or the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, during the Seattle protests and riots in 2020. So it gives you a little flavor of that area. Capitol Hill tends to be the younger crowd, younger singles, younger professionals. It's also the central area of the LGBTQ friendly businesses and whatnot. It's kind of what it's known for throughout the Seattle history. So in the heart of downtown, you'll primarily find apartment buildings and condos. So moving east from downtown and like the Seattle Center where the Space Needle is, you'll find more high-rise luxury condos. And then as you continue moving further east up towards Capitol Hill, you'll find it starts to turn into townhouses and more traditional residential area. This tends to be the most expensive area of Seattle to live in because the space is so limited. Also, some of the highest price per square foot for housing. But you do have amazing access to all the museums, shops, restaurants, Pike Place Market, nightlife, all the culture that people love about Seattle. It's all right there within walking distance. So some of the areas and neighborhoods in this area, you've got Belltown. It's close to all the museums, Alaska Way shops, the waterfront pier shops, and Seattle Aquarium. It tends to be the center of the Seattle nightlife, which is also known for being a little sketchy at night. You want to watch out there, but it's also a business district, so it's very busy 9 to 5 during the day. It's very close to the waterfront and Pike Place Market, which also has the original Starbucks coffee shop. It's definitely worth visiting if you've never been there before. Then that takes us up to Capitol Hill. So Capitol Hill has a distinct alternative vibe that runs through the urban neighborhoods, from the bars, coffee shops, tattoo parlors, and it's known for being Seattle's hub for LGBTQ culture. Lots of music venues, popular area for young singles and professionals around Seattle. Sometimes called the Brooklyn of Seattle. It also has the Seattle Asian Art Museum, and while you're strolling through it, you can enjoy views of Lake Union, downtown Seattle, and the Olympic Mountains. So then you have Queen Anne, which is definitely the neighborhood that's closest to downtown, just to the north. It's walkable to the Space Needle and the Seattle Center. Lots of beautiful Queen Anne architecture there. It has amazing views of Olympic Mountains. If you're on the west side of it, you can look across the water to that. Definitely has a small town feel, lots of cute little restaurants and stuff. The Mopop, or the Museum of Pop Culture, which is really quite creative. You see your concerts and basketball games at the Climate Pledge Arena. You got the Opera House and so many other music venues, and then KEXP, which if you don't know about that, check them out. It's one of my favorite radio stations. It's indie station here in town. Yeah, amazing music, really great culture there, and they definitely promote non-mainstream independent music, which Seattle's known for kind of their music scene as well. And then you have Pioneer Square. So it's Seattle's first and oldest neighborhood. It has art galleries and unique restaurant options. You can also see your soccer, your baseball and football games there. There are obviously concerts at the two arenas, the Lumen Field and the T-Mobile Park. That's just at the southern end of downtown Seattle. It's where those big arenas are. So we're going to head just south of 90 here. We're going to look at South Seattle, kind of Columbia City area. We'll also touch on South Park a little bit. We're not going to really talk about Sodo, which is what this is called, South Downtown, because it's pretty much just an industrial area. There really isn't any housing here. There is some in Georgetown, this little strip here just north of Boeing Field. So this area is, definitely one of the more affordable areas of Seattle still. More entry-level houses in this area, with it being a more up-and-coming neighborhood with lots of revitalization over these last 20 years. It's a mix of apartments, residential, and townhouses. Definitely vibrant and eclectic restaurant and bar shopping areas in Columbia City and Georgetown. It's nice because it's close to Lake Washington to the east, and then you've got great views of Mount Rainier to the south. It's well connected, easy access to light rail, and close to the airport. The culture and access to literally every type of cuisine and culture from around the world is definitely concentrated in this area, which is amazing. Pointed when I go to other areas of the country and I can't get like my favorite Thai food or pho or some of that kind of stuff, but take it for granted a little bit that we have access to such amazing food and culture here in Seattle. And then you break down some of the neighborhoods here. You've got the Mount Baker neighborhood to the north. It's a little definitely residential, heavy single family homes. You got some amazing views of Lake Washington, really big old growth trees in these neighborhoods, and it's really a great neighborhood for people who want to prioritize nature without straying too far from the city. A lot of green space. Moving a little further south, you got Columbia City, true melting pot, one of the country's most diverse zip codes. Amazing access to transportation, like I said, amazing food spots from pretty much any ethnicity and culture that you want. It's a mix of apartments, townhouses, and single-family homes as well, and really has a vibrant art scene. Down a little further is Seward Park, and this has a little more of a established mid-century feel to it. A lot of mid-century homes, that classic architecture. One of the best things about this area is Seward Park itself, which is all forested and with a walking trail around the outside of it. And so it's really a great place and really popular to do walks and whatnot. It's a 2.5 mile loop around the outside of the park. It is one of the more expensive neighborhoods in South Seattle. A lot of the residential, a lot of it's on the hill there, so you're looking at the view of Mercer Island and of Lake Washington. And then from there, we're going to go east to Georgetown, this little area here. Not a lot of homes there. There are some, but it's really tends to be known for like a grittier area with some dive bars and stuff, but really some great food, some great entertainment. We really like to hop to Georgetown and visit our favorite restaurant and bars there. There's also like a pinball museum there, so you pay a flat rate and play pinball for an hour. So some really cool stuff there. It's also very artsy. But then you got South Park. This area tends to get neglected a lot. A lot of people skip it because it's not real easy to get to from West Seattle or from Sodo or Georgetown or from South Seattle, but really it's one of those up-and-coming neighborhoods. It's starting to get some notoriety with its food scene. Definitely still one of the areas where you can get a more affordable house in the Seattle area. So now we're going to leave Seattle proper, and we're going to talk about the east side a little bit, just to give you some options and context. There's two primary ways to get across the Lake Washington. You've got the I-90 floating bridge, which goes over to Mercer Island, and then over into south end of Bellevue. And then you've got the 520 floating bridge, which is actually the world's longest floating bridge. The next longest one is I-90. So that goes from just south of the U District, floats across the water here into Medina, Clyde Hill area of Bellevue, which is definitely some of the most expensive area in I don't know if it's in the country. Definitely here, it's known for mansions and that sort of thing. I-90 tends to be the most popular option to get across. It's a much larger bridge, as well as 520 is a toll bridge, and so obviously that keeps some people off it, especially for commuting, because that could get expensive. First, let's talk Mercer Island. So it's an island obviously in the middle of Lake Washington, which is a huge lake. I think it's 30 miles from southern to northern tip. And then, so Mercer Island it's pricey. It's expensive to live on this island. There's a lot of mansions, waterfront mansions on the water, obviously, and then the more inland places tend to be mid-century neighborhoods, because that's when the island was developed. But like a lot of areas of Seattle, you've got your smattering of new construction, more modern houses too. And really it has everything you need to not ever need to leave the island if you wanted to, from small businesses to restaurants and shopping areas and grocery stores. So the biggest city outside of Seattle in the area is Bellevue. Bellevue definitely has a reputation for being higher end. Sometimes people joke and they're like, oh, I'm going to go over to Bellevue, where the hoity-toity people live or shop. Definitely is, if you're going to do some high-end shopping, you'll probably go to Bellevue Square, downtown Bellevue, where you get the name brand and high-end luxury brands. You could also do that downtown Seattle. There's a high-end shopping area there as well, but it definitely has a different feel than Bellevue, which is much nicer and glossier. Bellevue, outside of the shopping district and that economy, also is a major tech hub for business. You've got a large modern downtown with major shopping districts, like I mentioned, high-end designer brands. Also known for great schools, which is one of the reasons that the East Side is popular, is because the schools on the East Side tend to have better reputations than schools in the Seattle School. Bellevue has also been nicknamed the city in a park because it has such an enormous park system that weaves its way through the city, and it is obviously situated on Lake Washington, so it has some of that waterfront access as well. Moving up to Kirkland, it's very community-minded up there. It's beautiful green spaces, forest access. You got this really cute Kirkland waterfront area, so all these little shops, and you got a park there. Really great hangout in the summer times. And then lastly, you have Redmond, which is probably most popular for being the home of Microsoft. It's also the bicycle capital of the Northwest. Real popular with outdoor enthusiasts and with all of the activities that are, very residential, and a lot of green space there. So really, that's just a quick overview, high-level overview of the 5 areas of where to live in Seattle. On our next video series, we're going to be deep diving into each one of those areas, talk about some different neighborhoods and what really makes them special. So make sure to subscribe so you get notified when those are released. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment below. Thanks for tuning in.